November 2015, Rob and Cobra. Intro, peace unto all that listen to the Victory of Light radio show and peace unto the planet. We're in a time of great change and this information coming forward is only knowledge. Reach into your heart and your inner voice and do not cling on fear and don't worry about every post or every single little bit of information that flashes across the blogosphere. Use discernment. Listen to your inner voice and connect to your feelings and then unify your thoughts and feelings in a positive intent with unconditional love and forgiveness as your bywords, the golden rule of the Master Yeshua, the Christ, and all the great saints and sages who have brought forth the message of peace and love in the world. It is a great honor and pleasure to do this show. I want to thank Donnell who is doing such a great job of transcribing. She has lots of transcribing duties now, lots of Cobra interviews and she continues to produce in a wonderful selfless way. Thank you so much Donnell. Rick Serafico, as well and always for your wonderful edits and ability to make Cobra and I sound so good. Also Newtek has taken over the YouTubes and I hope to get a link to one of those and put that on my site as soon as that comes up. A little personal update. I have moved to Maui. I am taking production classes. I will be creating a television show here. Looking for possibly a production media expert on Maui who might be interested in working with me on the back scenes of production in helping me put in the slides and pictures and the final product of these TV shows. Luis Martins. Also I'd like to mention Luis Fernando Martins, who is now in Laughlin, Nevada presenting at that famous annual UFO conference. He is sharing his message in the USA once again. I'm really feeling his message is going to be shared worldwide because it is so important. I'm going to be with him here in Maui at the end of February. We're going to do 3 amazing days in the sun-kissed shores of Maui and on Halikala. We'll have some more information up shortly. You can see more about the solar activation on Halikala here. Slider Maui activation. We also have a summer conference with Luis planned. This will be a more intimate association intended to bring about preparation on an individual and spiritual level for open contact. We will be working directly with the guides and the cosmic masters and radiation activations in the Mount Shasta area and on the mountain itself. We'll be doing that for sure. Here are some excerpts of Lewis's amazing experiences from 2 of his 5 books. These 2 have been translated into English. Please do read carefully the loving messages gifted to you here. Here are free excerpts of Lewis' books. The first book is called Runa and Tellus Magical Secret Base of the Indies. Here is a link to Dropbox for you to enjoy an excerpt of this book. Runa and Tellus excerpt. His second book is called 3 Days in the Abbey of the 7 Rays. Here is another link to Dropbox for you to enjoy an excerpt of this book 3 Days in the Abbey of the 7 Rays. Cobra and Red Dragon interview. Also we're hoping to move forward in a positive direction in awakening people in many ways in understanding what's going on in regards to the positive efforts to bring about understanding of the new financial system. I have an interview that just wrapped with Cobra and the Red Dragon ambassador. It was in this interview where they asked each other questions and we acknowledged our unity to make things better. That will be available in transcript form only shortly after this Cobra interview on the same Cobra interview page. I thank you all for your support. We do appreciate your help in donations to keep the site and my effort running. There's a lot of people that are helping out to make this happen and your support with any purchase of a product helps us. I am not necessarily a businessman, but I do have to keep things going here and by offering products I truly feel our benefit is how I keep a roof over my head. I do have Centamani rings now available on this website. A lot of people were losing them and having issues so we turned them into rings so you can always keep them with you. I think we did a wonderful job. There's a talented craftsman in Thailand who put together some rings. We'll need your ring size and the region of the country you live in when you make your order. Check those out. Those are up and available right now to make a purchase and we can get those to you really quick. I also love the light watch that you wear on your wrist. It purifies your blood. It helps with HDLs, LDLs, speeding up the blood flow and working with it with diabetes and arterial sclerosis. lots of studies in China to back this up, and laser therapy is pretty powerful stuff. I'll be getting that information up on the website under that product as well. But I took a blood test previously and I've been wearing it every day and I've already felt some results, so I'm really impressed with this product and I feel honored to share this laser therapy with people, as everyone knows I love lasers and crystals, violet wands and plasma field energies to help us connect to our luminous self so we have our own experience. Love to you all. Thank you all so very much. Victory to the light. P.S. Check out those upcoming events on our website if you want to join us this February or this summer. I do have another event possibly planned at the end of summer. I am really hoping Cobra can be there. I'm kind of reserving 3 days for him a little bit later at the end of August. If Cobra can't commit, we may add another show besides Lewis in July. Mount Shasta at the end of August. I do look forward to those events coming up. God bless you all. Victory to the light. Here comes our brother Cobra. Cobra interview. Rob, okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's pleasure to be here again on the Victory of Light radio show. I'm your host Rob Potter. We have another special interview, our monthly interview with Cobra. This is November 12, 2015. I'm here on Maui. We just wrapped up a transcript-only interview with Cobra and the Red Dragon Ambassador and Louisa of the Goldfish Report. It's kind of a joint interview. This will be a transcript only. It will be coming out in 5 or 6 days after the Cobra interview. This interview will come out first, so keep an eye out for that on this page in a couple more days after this is released. It's a very interesting interview with Cobra and the Red Dragon Ambassador sharing their ideas. We, of course, want all the light workers and those of positive intent to unite. Speaking of unite, peace unto this world and to all of you in your homes here. These are very interesting times. Much of this has been prophesied and spoken out from the beginning and the end times in some of the Dead Sea Scrolls and actually in the Bible. They talk about Cog and Mahgog. Cog is continuity of government of the Americans and Mahgog is actually representing Russia. It has been prophesied that there will be certain elements coming up into Europe as precursors to change, and I guess I'd like to start my questions, Cobra, with you on that vein. First of all, welcome to the show. It's pleasure to have you here again. Cobra, thank you, again, for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Rob, well, wonderful to have you. I was speaking a little bit about Cog and Mahgog and the Russians doing their thing. Now we have this orchestrated invasion of sorts, kind of a Muslim thing which some people think is a real invasion. Obviously for the most part innocent people are fleeing horror in their country. There has been some reports out recently that Interpol has stopped some fake passports that were going to be given to some mercenaries and things of this nature. Can you speak a little bit about the ongoing situation in Europe, and is this getting worse? Is this getting better? Are things calming down? What's the situation there now? This interview was done before the Paris false flag attacks by Archons in the Black Nobility. Cobra, the situation is getting a little bit better because finally people are beginning to realize what is happening and they have been starting to take some action, and also the Russian actions in Syria are actually triggering one part of those refugees returning back to Syria. So the situation is getting a little bit better. And also our meditations have helped a little bit. But the situation is far from being resolved, so we would need much more action, much more energy support. Rob, yes, I hear that there are some people actually who are returning to Syria now. They feel that things have calmed down a little bit. Is the firefight over in Syria, or is it still ongoing, or is it pretty much a mop-up and clean-up operation now? Cobra, the project is still going on in Syria, but people now for the first time in many years see a perspective. They see a future. Rob, that's wonderful. Do you think it's safe for some of the refugees to return now or not quite yet? Cobra, it is safe for some people for some parts of Syria to return, but it is not yet safe for everybody to return. Rob, can you speak a little bit about the general sentiment in Europe now? I know this varies from country to country and individual to individual. I'm sure that media is roiling things up. I'm not into watching mainstream TV. Or the European television. Can you give us a percentage of positive people, or are there a bunch of them who are, kind of like an American redneck, cursing other races and people, or calling them towelheads or the other naughty names that they should not call their brothers and sisters? What is the percentage of acceptance and awareness of what's going on? Or is there a circling of the wagons, so to speak, amongst the people, not the governments, but the people? What's your feeling on that? Cobra, basically both things are happening. People are beginning to understand the situation. There is a lot of fear present, and there is quite much of misunderstanding. There is a lot of naive optimism, and there is also a lot of hatred, which has been suppressed coming off of the surface. But there are also many people who have balanced perspectives and are actually quite surprisingly good in understanding what's going on. Rob, well, that's wonderful, and I really think that's good that there's a lot more awareness coming on. For those of you in Europe who are listening, please be aware that we are all brothers and sisters. We're all children of the living, loving Creator, and if we look upon each other and practice the golden rule and do unto others, and in the face of sour reaction we return love and forgiveness, that's the way we're going to heal this. Cobra, there have been talks in regards to Corey Good, and Ben Fulford has mentioned some things, and we talked about this a little on the Goldfish Report, but I'd like you to allay people's fears about 100 more years of the financial system being held over to the elders as far as the disclosure process. These people are obviously part of the old school cabal. Cobra, not all the groups are part of the old school cabal, but there are many groups which have been put on the back burner because the cabal was having their time and now they feel it's their time. But in reality what will happen is that all the groups on the planet will have to align and connect with the higher vision for this planet, that is abundance for everybody and full and complete disclosure. There are some Chinese interest groups, it's true, that want to delay disclosure, and there are some groups from other parts of the world that want to delay disclosure. This is not going to happen. They can manifest a delay of a few months, but not 100 years. It's not going to happen. Rob, yay, I agree. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. And I agree with you that the spiritual forces at some point will see that things take place. And this is the conundrum. We talked about this previously. We have a situation where we have all these different factions with all these different ideals moving forward. How does the resistance and the galactic forces intend for this to come down and to an explanation? Eventually does higher spiritual force interpose itself into the situation and declare like a teacher at the front of the room, tap, tap, tap world, you guys must come together in a unity here and come to some sort of a consensus on universal transparency and abundance for the planet? With all these people in different areas in secret societies going on, where does the meetings come forward? If we can get this done on the human element down here, it seems so far apart. What is the plan of the Confederation and the resistance to really bring this into and all this bickering, so to speak, for power and control, and allow the universal principle of abundance and allowance and allegiance to each other to come forward in our financial system? Cobra, okay. What will happen is at a certain moment, when it will be safe enough, the RM will simply give quite substantial intel to certain people on the surface, and this intel will be released for those certain people on the surface, and this will change the rules of the game, because suddenly this intel will be out there for everybody to see. All those groups which are now having their backdoor deals, this will no longer be applicable because things will change, and one intel release of that nature can change the rules of the game for everybody. Rob, very good. So this intel will actually, for some of these individuals who are perhaps learning some personal agendas, they may actually in the light, in the revelation of this new information, amend their actions and their viewpoints towards a higher cause. Is that correct? Cobra, no. What will happen is that people will. Understanding of the masses will be such that those manipulations will no longer be possible, because people will see through them. Rob, yes. A lot of people see through a lot of the situations. Here there's a lot of people who believe 9-11. I mean, the percentage is pretty high that there is something going on there and nothing's happening. Is this part of our revelation of open declaration of the resistance Agartha network or the Confederation? Would that be part of that? Cobra, I will say that there will be intel about the extraterrestrial life, and when this comes out, no group will be able to delay disclosure much longer, and this, of course, will have serious implications in the financial system. So many things that are now possible will suddenly not be possible any longer for those groups. Rob, yay, it's going to be very interesting how they're going to do this, because I guess it's a top secret operation, but at this point in time so many people would react in fear with the control of the mainstream media. This comes after the arrests, correct? Cobra, no. This can happen before the arrests. I'm not going to go into details, but there are some plans to do certain things before the arrest happen, before the event. Because it is simply taking too long and the resistance would like to push forward for certain things happening before the event. I cannot give any promises, but they also have had enough. They don't want to wait any longer. They want to trigger certain things sooner. I will not go into details, again, how this is going to work, but certain plans are on the way. Rob, well, that's good news. I always kind of thought like I made a little showing. This could put us forward some of the military guys that are on the fence that are getting information about this. It could let them get another level of understanding of the reality of this, yes? Cobra, yes, of course. Rob, okay. Let's see, we've talked about Syria. We talked about the financial reset. There's obviously been some big changes in announcements going on hitting the mainstream a little bit in regards to the Chinese coming together with Taiwan. Can you give us any overall comments in the financial system and some of the changes in progress going forward? Cobra, okay. This meeting between China and Taiwan is a double-edged sword. It can be a good thing, but also, unfortunately, it was also an attempt of China to gain more control over Taiwan, which is not good. So again, the situation can also have good consequences in the long term. We'll see. Rob, everything's a double-edged sword. We're going to go right into the questions. We seem to be random anomaly month with a lot of people. We're going to start off with the first question. This is an interesting historical question. I'm not really familiar with Grecian history, but various historical sources, this is the question, talk about the positive influences that the god named Zameltos has had on the Thracian civilization. Do you know who Zameltos was? Is he a representative of the Agarthan or the Confederation? Cobra, this is just a legend from late Atlantean period, as most of the Grecian gods were actually beings of light that were bringing awareness to that late Atlantean period, and this is the same situation here. Rob, okay. I get a lot of questions on this and we've kind of answered it, but they're pretty persistent, so I kind of want to put this to rest, and for those of you asking this question, this will be the last time we'll ask them. Who was the civilization living under the surface of Busagi Mountain, Romania, in the Carpathian Mountain area? Cobra, this is a very old, I would say, base of a certain extraterrestrial race that have created it. And it includes a time capsule, and this has been discovered by the Romanian Secret Service and then taken over by the, I would say, US cabal and has been suppressed. Thankfully, part of this intel has been released through some of the books you can read. The Transylvania Sunrise is the first one, and there are many more books written about this subject. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more places like this throughout the planet. Rob, okay. So the cabal is in control of it. However, much like the Dead Sea Scrolls with the Confederation watching, it will not be destroyed. It will eventually be given to humanity, correct? Cobra, yes, correct. Rob, yes. Here's a good one, a far-reaching one, and feel free to go on as long as you want on this one. Can you explain enlightenment? Cobra, okay. Enlightenment is simply an experience of realizing who you really are. It's a reconnection with your own true self, and enlightenment does not mean that you are completely free from all personality, that you're free from all of your emotions and thoughts and belief systems. It simply means that on a deeper level you know who you are. Then everything that happens to you, everything that you do in your life, there is always an awareness of who you are. You never lose it again. So this is what is called enlightenment. Rob, yes. I would add the Hindus call it a samadhi and awakening sprite of contact with your higher self or God self, and then another one called nirvikalpa samadhi, which is a permanent constant contact, which probably would lead us into the next question, which was, I think we've asked this once before, but it's a good question. Can you please define what is ascension? Cobra, okay, as you have mentioned nirvikalpa samadhi, this is exactly what ascension is. Ascension is when your awareness of your own self is so strong that you integrate all aspects of your personality. You shine a light through them, and then perfect loving acceptance transforms them so that you actually no longer have a personality. That you dissolve all your lower bodies, including the physical body, the etheric body, the emotional body, the mental body, and you completely align with your own divine spark. And then, of course, when you transcend all laws of entropy, you can materialize or project an image of yourself into the physical. But you never again identify with your physical body. You never again identify with your thoughts or with your emotions. That's a short description of ascension. Of course, there's much more to it. I will write an article at a certain moment about this, but the time is not right yet. Rob, okay. Thank you. Another interesting question. There's been a lot of revelations lately with veterans today, James Preston, Gordon Duff, the revelation of the Khazarian Jewish agenda, which has been exposed as basically the Zionists' agenda, which is falsely manipulated. I wanted to ask you, I've read in the book Secret Places of the Lion by George Hunt Williamson that clarified details about the exodus of Moses from Egypt, and that in that time those that were called the Jews were those people that believed in one God, that there wasn't one genetic racial phenotype that Moses led out of the desert, that there were many Africans, Ethiopians, many people from Greece and around the world. They were led out of Egypt by Moses. Would you agree that there's no specific racial phenotype, that the Jews were originally those that believe in one God? Cobra, actually, it's both. There was a certain genetic makeup that made the original group that has been referred to as Jews, but there were others, I would say, races that adopted Jewish religion. Here I'm referring to the Khazarians, and here we have a mixture of all those different groups, but the original Jews that you're talking about, yes, they were people who believed in one God, but this was manipulated by the Archons in many ways. I would not go into details here. It's a deep story and quite a complex one, and there is a lot of disinformation about the Jewish people, a lot of confusion. One of the ideas is, one of the disinfo that is taking place quite strongly is the event which we're actually taking in the current Saudi Arabia has been translated into Israel. So the actual location of those biblical events is in current Saudi Arabia. And this is exactly the country that the Khazarians have occupied and have suppressed many things connected with this. Post-interview annotation. I do not know for sure what Cobra meant about many things happening in the Bible actually taking place in Saudi Arabia. This may be true, but the parting of the Red Sea was real and happened in a location evidenced and proven by archaeological finds by Klaus Donna. Rob, yes, a lot of this will be revealed in the future. So it is a very complex thing, and I think the Jewish people and those who have different ideas and don't like what the military is doing to the people of Palestine. I need to step back and realize that we don't like what the American military has been doing in the Middle East either. And I would say it's time for all of us to put down our separatist views like black, white, rich, poor, Jew, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, and come together. Would you agree? Cobra, yes, of course. Actually, it is not important the religion of people. It is, the race is not important. What is important is the soul presence of every individual. And only on that level can true brotherhood and sisterhood be created. All those different manifestations of people's belief systems are actually not important because basically most of them, the majority of them, are part of the Archon programming, and in long term this is not important at all. It is not something that will stay with us forever. It is simply something that will fall away as the highest truth begins to be revealed and people begin to have their direct experience with the source. Rob, yes, much of the martyrs and prophets, the favored chosen, the true spiritual teachers, have had their words manipulated and changed, and I would recommend that people look for the similarities in the unity in the different spiritual messages as opposed to the differences, and find common ground to reach out to your fellow brothers and sisters no matter what their faith. Here's an interesting question that came up I was kind of interested in. I wanted your opinion on this one. What is the approximate death toll of Jews that had died during WWII? We have these inflated numbers. Of course, we have the ADL, which is trying, as we know, to stop anyone from talking against the Jewish Khazarian Zionist agenda, not the true and loving God-faithful Jewish faith, but that's so. How many actually died in the total, if you have an estimate, or could you tell us that? Cobra, I do not have an exact number, but there were millions, and it's not important if it's 5M or 10M. It was too much. Apart from that, there were many people who have died after WWII that were not of the Jewish nation that have died in concentration camps around Europe, and also the number here is millions. And many, many, more millions have died in concentration camps in the USSR in the Stalinist regimes. We have tens of millions of people which have been subjected to horrible experiences because of the Archons, because of the Jesuits, and this is something that will need a lot of healing still. And a lot of healing will happen after the event about this situation. Rob, yes. Systematic torture and genocide around the world is horrible. Another warlord, Pol Pot, had some sort of cleansing, and I heard the numbers there in the killing fields were over 1 million. There is so much, I guess, we could call it programming going on in this. I have to call the Satanistic mindset that seeks to have others suffer. What is the nature of this thing that, obviously they're not Archons? Are these just reptilian souls that are gravitating to these types of things? I can't even imagine military soldiers in Abu Ghraib and the horrible degrading things that they did to those many of them innocent Iraqis. What is causing this in the average person, and how can this be healed? Cobra, this has been caused by manipulation by the Archons. The Archons were simply pushing on the buttons of the hatreds, oppressed hatred, and enlarging it, and most of average people are not strong enough to resist constant pressure from the Archons if they're put in a situation of a war zone, for example. So they would just surrender to that pressure and do whatever they're being told to do. Rob, okay, thank you. What is planned for East Ukraine, and can war be stopped? Leaders of the DNR keep selling coal to the enemy. Are they just frauds? Did Putin and Yankovich already agree to give Crimea back to Russia before the Maidan riots happened? Cobra, no. No. There was no such agreement. Though the question is after the event or before the event? Rob, the question was in regards to before the event. Obviously, after the event, at the time of the event, all wars will have ceased. The question is, can the war be stopped? What's going on in the Ukraine situation now? How is that? Is it kind of at a standstill? Is that escalating? What's going on in that part of the world? Cobra, the situation is not resolved, and I don't expect it to be resolved before the event because, obviously, the motivation of the cabal is to keep that conflict going as long as possible. Rob, okay. People were wondering, how soon after the event will there be relief for the agony of morgellons and other maladies? Are they being put upon people from the result of chemtrails? Cobra, as soon as logistically possible. The cures will be there, but there will be a certain time of distribution, and there's a certain time to assimilate a change. I would say in the span of humans there will be drastic improvement. Rob, a question from the geneticist from last month. He has a question again for you on genetics. He says, can you ask Cobra if the immobilized retrotransposons littered throughout our genome are evidence for the methodic, genetic manipulation by ETS? Cobra, yes, actually, yes. Because the genetic manipulation of the ETS triggered certain changes that can be traced in the genome quite obviously. And I would say that the mainstream genetics has suppressed certain parts of the research. Certain things were forbidden, certain things were suppressed quite drastically. And if you approach this field with an open mind, you will find evidence, and quite strong evidence, of genome manipulation from the ETS. It is there. Rob, okay. This question that someone had requires a little more quick background on this, and I'm not sure what they said is correct. I would like to say that Fred Bell told me that the being called Satan had been reconciled. However, if you can imagine, folks, that a very powerful being creates a city and he made a mistake and he's changed. Maybe he's no longer the mayor of that city controlling it. That city was built on certain energetic lines, and possibly that city and those influences that he had previously are still running. So here's the question, and I don't think this is correct in what you said, but they believe. Cobra mentions that Satan has been sent to the central sun. Did you say that? Cobra, I didn't say that exactly, but I will not comment on this. Not yet. Rob, okay. Can you comment? The next question was, can you explain more about the being that we would know as Satan? Cobra, no. No, I will not make any comment about that being. Rob, okay. Is he the same being as the one called Set? Cobra, yes. Rob, okay. I guess we can answer those questions. Here's a question that we've answered before. The question was, where is the central sun? Cobra, the central sun, as the name says, is at the center of the galaxy, the most powerful object right in the center of the galaxy. Rob, I could have answered that, but someone said I answered the questions too much. Can you talk a little bit about the resistance movement historically speaking, in regards to, I guess, the ancient history before the Planet 10 group got here? Cobra, okay. The Planet X group was existing there for thousands and thousands of years and had their own evolution and did not interact quite much with Planet Earth. It did interact to a certain degree with the elite, the good ones and the bad ones, and it has been taken over by the Illuminati a long time ago. In a similar way the situation on this planet happened, but, fortunately, they have been liberated a little bit before our planet and now they are assisting in the liberation here. Rob, yes. Can you talk about how long ago were they taken over? Was this about 30k years ago as well? Cobra, actually, the first phase of takeover was about the same as on this planet, 25k years ago, but the control was not so deep. The control was not so complete. There was more awareness there. A little bit, I wouldn't say, quite much less programming taking place. Rob, where are the people from Planet 10 from originally? Did they populate this? For those of you unaware, it is not Nibiru. It is a planet that has a very long elliptical orbit, approximately 850 years. It is a methane gas ice-covered planet that has a blue hue and the people live on the center of the planet. Cobra, they don't live on the center. They live on the bases underground near to the surface. Rob, okay. They're in the honeycomb aspect underneath the surface, far enough down so there's no permafrost, I imagine. The question is, how long have they been there and where did they come from originally? Cobra, they have been there for millions of years. Many of them are from the humanoid archetype throughout the galaxy and came from various parts of the galaxy. Rob, so would there be any Earth humans there from the Earth history that settled there? Could there be some ancient Earth people that are part of that, or is that pretty much? Cobra, yes, there were some people that have been incarnated from planet Earth and later transported on the astral plane to Planet 10. This did happen. Rob, okay. People are wondering what they look like? Obviously they're pretty much human-like, correct? Cobra, yes, they are very human-like. If you would meet somebody on the street you would not be able to distinguish that person from an average human being, and now they are agents of the resistance walking the streets on the surface and you wouldn't recognize them. Rob, thanks a lot. It seems, I noticed this month you had maybe one. You had the meditation and another post. So far, this month has been pretty much coded information to the RM in regards to certain activities. We go now into the primary anomaly month questions. I had quite a few of them. I guess people are still unclear. You said it before. I'd like to put the primary anomaly to rest, and for those of you who are thinking about anomaly questions, we're going to ask several here to get some details. So you can get this down and this will be a good reference for people who have questions. What is the primary anomaly? Cobra, the primary anomaly is continuous. It's a random function which exists without a purpose. It is not negative by itself, but free will interacting with primary anomaly has a strong tendency towards evil and negativity because primary anomaly was never in touch with the source. Rob, why did primary anomaly occur in a perfectly ordered universe? Cobra, the answer is without any reason, without any purpose. This is the only way primary anomaly can exist. Rob, okay. That was the next question is. What is its purpose? Is it simply chaos? But you say it's no purpose. Cobra, the primary anomaly does not have any purpose. It is the logical opposite of purpose. Rob, thank you. Is all of creation interacting with the primary anomaly, or do things work differently in other dimensions and planes of the multiverse? Cobra, the creation is always in interaction with the primary anomaly and actually transforming primary anomaly slowly. Every conscious action in this universe does transform one aspect of the primary anomaly. It's a process that is ongoing since the birth of the universe. Rob, you have, according to this person, you have said that primary anomaly will be absorbed back into the One. Is that correct? Cobra, yes. Rob, after that, what comes, after the absorbing? Cobra, the One will be everything that it will ever be. There will be no more creation needed because everything will be integrated back into the One. Rob, okay. In your recent creation interview you said that the source projects itself into the primary anomaly and that fusion creates creation. The question is, how did creation come to be when there was no primary anomaly? Cobra, there was no creation before the primary anomaly. Rob, okay. That answers that one. You also said that one's ultimate purpose is to absorb the primary anomaly. When it is absorbed, what is the purpose after that? Cobra, the purpose after that is to exist as one in perfect joy, love and harmony. Rob, yay, that's what I would think too. Another question, do organ chembusters and cloudbusters produce enough power to really clear the skies above of chemtrails? Cobra, they can help a great deal depending on the design and I would say the stage of the development of those organ cloudbusters. Rob, okay. There was someone who's a sensitive and I am not really sure. You can never know if someone has their experience and it's not a question on the veracity of this experience, but someone says that before they went to sleep they were sensing and they actually were seeing a reptilian in their bedroom, kind of in a higher vibrational state. Right before they went to sleep they were feeling nauseated as if someone was trying to force something into their brain. They said they were physical nausea sensations. Do you have any suggestions for protection? What could a person do and does that type of thing still go on occasionally? Cobra, yes. Those things can happen occasionally, but not very often. And they will not happen if you do not have an energy attachment to that type of experience and that type of being. So if you will clear your inner attachments to those beings, they will not manifest in your reality. Rob, here's an interesting one. I read the Shaver Mysteries and some of the interesting stuff from long ago, but they had an explanation. I'm kind of curious. What is your explanation for spontaneous human combustion? Cobra, it is usually not spontaneous human combustion. It is something that is done remotely with plasma scalar technology. Rob, thank you, very much. That confirms what I heard from an individual many years ago. We have some local regional questions, folks, and you know we can keep going over. The general answer Cobra gives is all planets will be cleared. It's not an individual thing but someone wants to know your opinion about the last elections in Poland. Do you see any chance for Poland to become closer to Russia and the Eastern Alliance instead of standing side by side with the EU and the USA? Cobra, the problem with Poland is because it is between the Eastern and Western world. It's actually torn between two strong forces and Polish politicians need quite much skill to negotiate those tensions from both sides. And when they will see that the Eastern Alliance is strong enough, they will, of course, support it. It is the same answer for many European countries. Rob, okay. Here's an interesting one. What is the probability in your just opinion? We know you can't give an answer and can't know. What is your probability, a percentage, that the event will happen before 2020? Cobra, okay. I'm not giving any time frames, and that includes all probability predictions. Rob laughed. I thought so. Okay. What's the difference between an archangel and an ascended master? Cobra, an ascended master is someone who has gone through the earth experience, has taken earth incarnations, and has with his own free will and effort transcended that and exited the matrix. Archangels were never subjected to the planet Earth experience. They have been just floating around in their higher dimensions, and their perception is therefore a little bit different. Rob: okay. I have an interview coming up with Kevin and Annette, so I had to ask this next one question from someone. Is the Pope a shape-shifting reptilian? Cobra: the Pope is not shape-shifting and is not a reptilian. He is an Archon from the Andromeda negative side. Rob: under what circumstances is the Earth's tilt going to correct and this planet would revolve without a tilt? Cobra: I am not answering any planetary axis shift questions yet. It's not time. Rob: I guess, not specifically about the shift of the axis, but will the planet once again be re-established in a balanced way? Cobra: yes, yes, yes. Rob: okay. I thought so. Here's a question here, and I'm not really sure you might know. I found it interesting. Do you know where the famous 18 Siddhas from South India are? Are they still working for the faculties of immortality? It sounds like a great white brotherhood Indian question. Cobra: yes, I heard about those beings. They are working from the ascended state. Rob: okay. Thank you. In Hinduism, the creation-level gods are Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Who are they corresponding to in the galactic universal level of creation? I would say it's kind of like in the Christian, the Father, Son and the Holy Ghost kind of thing. Can you comment on the Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva? Cobra: yes. They are actually universal archetypes, divine will, divine love and divine light. And it can be described in various religions in various ways, and usually most of the religions describe those archetypes connecting them with a being that they know that are carriers of the same archetype. Rob: okay. We're going to get back to a little more mundane earthly questions here. It seems that the Cabal is inches away from the successful implementation of their plans for world domination, with mandatory vaccines being implemented in more and more states. I haven't actually seen it, but I hear them talking, but I don't think they're going to get it. Of course they're planning on gun confiscation, and it seems as though some doctors, Cobra, have actually been murdered, especially in the vaccination field. The lawyer, Dr. Congressman Member of Parliament, Andrew Mulden, who had all of the evidence in a very concise medical empirical scientific way proving that vaccinations do cause autism and various other anomalies, has been killed. Is this going to end in the near future, or is this unfortunately something we have to deal with until the event? Cobra: unfortunately, the situation is still taking place, and it might continue to happen for some time, but at the event it will be completely stopped. Rob: someone has asked about the Strangulate and Toplet bombs, and they want to know, is there a certain number of them? Are they still being created? Cobra: there is a certain number of them, yes, but they are not being. No new ones are being created. Their number is decreasing all the time as they're being cleared. Rob: that's great. Good. Could you give us any type of numbers? Would you say below 50, above 100? Cobra: no. That's classified information. Rob: alright. Someone wants to know if a global meditation was successful. I answered her, well, basically critical mass wasn't achieved because the event didn't happen. They were wondering how you would know. Do you have any ability to know the exact numbers of how many people participate in a meditation? Cobra: the RM has their own way of accessing that information, and they give me an update after the meditation, how successful it was. Rob: yes. The group from the Aetherius Society actually have reported on this for many years. Some of the masters from Venus have mentioned that they do go around and detect a spiritual energy field from different countries, and India is very often at the top of the charts. I guess the next question, how many positive military police are there actually involved in the resistance? How do we get any sign that there's military and police involved, or are they all just not involved yet? Cobra: Some people within the structure of the police forces and the military have been contacted by the agents of the resistance, but not many. Not at this point. It's far too early. But when the final action will be taking place, there will be a lot of contact. Rob: okay. Some people are saying, these people are getting away with all the bad things. Can you give us any significant names that have been arrested to give people hope that there are changes? Are there any arrests of some of these? I guess not major cabal. Can you give us some examples of any progress of takedown of the financial or the military, or any examples of the light forces actually seeing that there's some justice and arrests being made? Cobra: yes. There have been many arrests in Iceland. There have been bankers prosecuted in Vietnam. Actually, there is a lawsuit against the Rothschilds in France. There are small steps because the big action will take place all at once. But there are some small steps that you can already see being taken. Rob: thank you. I did hear. I don't watch mainstream, I've been quite busy. Someone did say that a Rothschild was arrested. Who is that, and can you explain the circumstances? Cobra: I cannot confirm this. There have been rumors of arrests of big names, but I do not have any confirmation. Rob: yay, that's what I was looking for as well. I'd like to go a little bit now into the cash-free energy device. One of our group from www.preforchange.net, we'll call him JB, has contacted me. He seems to be quite involved, and there's another guy who the cash people have endorsed, who have taken their design and concept and come up with a much more viable and functioning unit. I'm really looking at this and seeing that, like we have a crack in the egg. Allegedly the word is that India, Italy and China have agreed to move forward with these devices once they become viable. These devices at this point in time have still not reached the level of proficiency or uniformity where we can say, take this device, build a house and put this in your circuit box and it's going to run your house. We're not there yet. Do you have any more, since we last talked, and it wasn't that long ago, do you have any more information on the cache information? Are you getting positive responses from people who have received units, and do you know anything about whether it's true China, India and Italy will be the first nations to move forward with this? Cobra: I will say China and India especially. They have infrastructure ready. There are certain circumstances that those two countries will allow quite efficient spread of free energy when it is ready, but I have received no positive confirmation about cache devices. Rob: have you studied these devices? They're telling me there's something called GANs and a formula where they nanoparticleization in the process these wires. They have a bunch of copper wires that run the unit and they dip them in like a coating and they indicate that when you put this into a house it's like a car engine that must warm up. It takes like a week for your house to get coated. Somehow these nanoparticleized devices will transform your electrical system, and the explanation was given to me that this is not going to be running like in the linear fashion in direct current or alternating current. It's more like, it's here now, quantum field energy that is going to be available at every socket, and that as the load comes it just will manifest in the system. Have you done any studying, or can you look at this technology and see if it is in congruency with your understanding of plasma-based physics? Cobra: I head into this and there are some promising things there, but I am not 100% sure it works, even theoretically. Rob: yes. As I said so. There is folks, for those of you who are really into cash, I'm really into it. I really hope it's real. I'm really waiting to see when someone has a device, they build a house and it's not connected to the grid. I would like to see a video of every hairdryer, computer, air conditioning unit, electric hot plate, fan, heater, whatever is required. I'd like to know the wattage capability and the amp load that can be taken by one of these and fully functioning without any glitches. I think we're a ways away from these becoming completely solid. But it sounds promising. It seems like it's about time, isn't it, Cobra? Cobra: it's about time a long time ago. Rob: how about the resistance? Have you questioned them on this? Are they remaining mute on this? Cobra: I have discussed those situations with them many times, but again, they always say that the main thing that has to be removed are the strangulate bombs, and then many things can take place. There are many technologies, which are somewhere waiting for the right moment to be released, so it's not just about cash. It's about the whole planetary situation. There needs to be a breakthrough, and the breakthrough can happen anywhere, and most likely it will happen from an unexpected direction. Rob: okay. Speaking of things, I'd like to go a little bit over some of the core good stuff here. I'm thinking in the future. We got all these guys out there in the SSP secret space programs and the conglomerate minions. At the time of the event they'll be liberated and healed. This is going to be kind of exciting for humanity. They're going to realize overnight that we've had a very exotic space program with bases on the Moon, Mars, Venus, more advanced satellites than the space station, and actually on asteroids, if Corey Good is correct. Cobra: yes, of course, there were many bases on the asteroid belt. And it's not just about Corey Good's information. There is a lot of evidence about this in many places if you want to look. Actually, I would recommend Dr. Sala's book about the SSP, especially the first part of the book. There is quite much evidence in a lot of different sources and a lot of intel there about the existence of various secret space programs. Rob: yay, it's going to be interesting. My comment was going to be that pretty soon at some point humanity, of course, the advanced science people and stuff like that, but we will have a very quite an immediate presence in outer space after galactic diplomacy begins, correct? Cobra: yes. Rob: okay. We're heading towards the end here. I guess I'd like to ask. Someone had a more metaphysical question here about the non-material beings and some of the names that are talked about. Can you talk about, is the being Metatron a being, or is that an office? Archangel Metatron, Santa form? Will these beings be visible after the event, or are these still going to be kind of non-material beings that work from higher planes? Cobra: they will remain non-material beings, but those who are aware enough will be able to feel their presence much more easily. Rob: very good. Again, I have a few final questions here in regards to what people can do on the planet. Always, so many people. We always talk about people finding their own way and their own nature. Do you recommend any particular field? If someone is thinking to start a group, can you mention some ideas besides meditation groups, some type of activities that you think would help people? Perhaps in Europe, who are light workers who are seeing this, they want to stave off the fear, propaganda and the chaos that is intended to ensue from this semi-invasion force manipulated. How could they do this? Do you think the flyers passing out? What type of activities could light workers, grassroots, maybe 3 or 4 people get together to help make awareness that we don't have to devolve into a type of bestiality with this situation? Cobra: from my perspective the most effective thing to do is to start a blog. Because we need more and more of this blogging activity, internet activity, releasing intel that is relevant to the situation. We need to be stronger than the mass media. Rob: okay. You also mentioned that this may be happening in the US. Of course, Canada, they might want to come down here and get warmer, but I guess it would be coming, of course, through Mexico and Baja California. Would this be an international type raid into the Americas, or would this be kind of unleashing the borders from South and Central America? Cobra: okay. This is just the plan of the cabal and it will not happen. Rob: oh. Thank you for that response. Also, I've been talking to someone who's in contact with Drake and Alex Jones, been reaching out to me, having a conversation. Would you be interested in a joint interview with Drake if that could be arranged? Cobra: yes. Rob: very good, and possibly Alex Jones? Cobra: yes. Rob: very good, folks. Well, I'm going to work on that and hopefully that can come forward. In the meantime, Cobra, I want to thank you again. We had a long day today with the Dragon Ambassador. I appreciate your patience with the technical difficulties. Of course, we move much smoother in our Victory of the Light interview. And if there is anything you'd like to share with people, of course, to remind them of the meditation or anything else that you're doing coming up, please do so. Cobra: yes. If this interview is released before November 21, 2015, I would like to ask anybody who would like to participate to do so. We have meditation for the event, and people who are fed up with waiting, there is something you can do. You can actually actively participate, and if we reach a critical mass we can bring the event much closer, because the power of unified field of manifestation is the strongest or one of the strongest forces in this universe. But it's up to you. Rob: alright folks, we again. Cobra reiterating, we must be part and parcel of this change. Do not sit on your armchairs and just post and go into fear about different things. Always know that your light illuminates and can change the thing, and with your peaceful intent together we're going to change this world. Once again Cobra, I thank you very much for your appearing on my show here monthly. It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Victory to the light, brother. Cobra: yes. Victory to the light.